In the safest place in Havana, within the walls of the Palace of the Revolution, Miguel Sánchez, Fidel Castro's closest bodyguard for 15 years, picked up the telephone with trembling hands. As he dialed the number, he knew that the moment he made this call, he would become either a hero or one of the greatest traitors in history. But he still didn't know something. The voice on the other end of the phone was not who he thought it was. Subscribe to the channel to discover unknown secrets about Fidel Castro, and turn on notifications to learn something new every day. Cold sweat ran down Miguel's back. In the long marble corridors of the palace, he could only hear his own breathing. The clock read 3:47. Comandante Fidel Castro was asleep in his bedroom, or at least he should be. 15 years. For 15 years Miguel had protected this man. In every assassination attempt, in every danger, he was by his side. From the mountains of Sierra Maestra to these marble corridors of the palace. The paper in his pocket crinkled again. Call tonight. At 4 o'clock. You know the number. If you want to see your family again, you'll tell us the Commandante's plans for today. Miguel's mind was shattered. His wife Rosita, his 7-year-old son Carlitos, all held captive now in the basement of the Soviet embassy. Or at least that's what they had told him. But the most shocking part was who had sent this message. Miguel was only 19 years old. Young, idealistic, a boy who believed in the revolution. He had climbed to the mountains to fight against Batista's dictatorship. The first day he saw Fidel Castro, he never forgot that fire in his eyes. We will save this country, Miguel. You and I together, Fidel had told him, patting his shoulder. And from that day on, he was by his side. In every battle, in every march, in every victory and in every defeat. Fidel didn't see him merely as a bodyguard. He treated him like a brother. When they entered Havana in 1959, Fidel put him in charge of the Special Protection Unit. I trust you, Miguel. I put my life in your hands. And Miguel had given everything to deserve that trust. 5,478 days. Every morning he woke up before Fidel. Every night he fell asleep after him. He tasted every meal he ate. He inspected every room he entered. He examined every person who approached him. 42 assassination attempts. 42 times Miguel had risked his life, and every time they had won. But now, Miguel had gone to the Soviet embassy for a routine security meeting. But the expected meeting never took place. Instead, he was taken to a dark room. There was only one man in the room. His face was in shadow, but his accent was not Russian. He spoke Spanish, but in a strange way. Miguel had heard that accent before, but couldn't remember exactly where. Miguel Sánchez. 15 years of loyal service. Impressive, the man said in a deep voice. I only do my duty. Your duty. The man leaned forward, but his face remained in darkness. And what about your family? What is your duty to them? Miguel's heart raced. What does my family have to do with this? The man threw a photograph on the table. Rosita and Carlitos. Leaving the supermarket. But the way the photo was taken, there was something like a target reticle over them. Isn't protecting them also your duty? Miguel stood up furiously. Who are you? I'm just a messenger, Miguel. But I bring you a proposal. Very simple. Inform us about Fidel Castro's plans. In exchange, we protect your family. Refuse, and... Wait a moment. Don't miss this detail. The surprising twist. When Miguel arrived home at midnight, the house was empty. Rosita and Carlitos were not there. There was only a note on the table. They are with us. safe and sound. For now. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock call. 555-7839. Remember Miguel, only Fidel's plans for today. Very simple. Miguel went crazy. He couldn't call the police. Who could he trust? He couldn't tell Fidel. They would kill his family. Were they the Soviets? The Americans? Or... Just at this point everything changed. Miguel began to review old files. During his 15 years of service, he had seen many enemies. But this operation was very professional. And that accent. It was almost familiar. Then he remembered. In 1960, there was an assassination attempt in Havana. Miguel had captured the assassin, a young CIA agent. During the interrogation, the man had spoken. "You don't understand. Fidel is using you. When you discover the truth, it will be too late." He couldn't make sense of it at the time. But now, Miguel secretly entered the palace archives. Here were Fidel's personal files. Forbidden zone. But he had no other choice now. And what he found destroyed his entire world. A document from 1954. Sent from Mexico. An encrypted report. His father's name was written in it. Target, Ricardo Sánchez. Status, eliminated. Reason, informant. Connections with the cartel discovered. Miguel's mind stopped. His father had died of a heart attack in 1954. Or that's what he'd been told. There was a signature on the document. When Miguel saw the signature, his knees buckled. He knew that signature very well. He saw it every day. Fidel Castro. You won't believe this, but... Miguel's hands trembled as he continued reading the document. His father wasn't an informant. On the contrary, he was a secret revolutionary fighting against Batista's regime. But he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He had seen Fidel's secret weapons agreement in Mexico. And Fidel didn't want this to come to light. It wasn't revenge, it was a necessity for the revolution, the report said. Miguel's world fell apart. 15 years. For 15 years, he had protected his father's killer. But there was more. He found another document in the file. Date: 3 days ago. Subject: Operation Test of Loyalty, Miguel Sánchez. Miguel sweated coldly as he read. This was a test. Everything was being done under Fidel's orders. The man at the Soviet embassy was actually from Cuban intelligence. Those who kidnapped his family. Them too. To test Miguel Sánchez's loyalty. Pressure him through his family. If he reports to us, he proves his betrayal. If not, we'll see his true loyalty. Either way, we win. FC. Miguel's fury reached its peak. But before the fury came horror. Because now he understood. Fidel knew everything. He always knew. These 15 years were a long test. You still haven't seen the biggest surprise. Miguel stood in the corridor. Telephone in hand. Document in his pocket. Fidel's bedroom door was closed. He had to call in 5 minutes. But now he had a different plan in mind. If Fidel didn't trust him, if all of this was a game, then he really could inform the KGB. He really could betray. Because he had no loyalty left to protect. Or he could confront Fidel, tell him the truth to his face, show him the document, demand answers about his father. But then, what would happen? What would happen to his family? Thousands of scenarios ran through Miguel's mind. The telephone waited in his hand. It was 3:58. Then the door opened. Fidel Castro was standing in the doorway, wearing his bathrobe, but not asleep. His eyes were sharp, as always, a cigar in his hand, that familiar smile on his mouth. "Miguel, I was waiting for you." Miguel stood in shock. "Comandante. Hey. Were you expecting your call?" "At 4 o'clock. Fidel smiled. "Put down the telephone, Miguel. This game is over." Miguel's trembling hand put the telephone in his pocket. Did you know everything?" "Of course. I always know everything." Fidel approached. "You are not just a pawn, Miguel. You were part of a test. And you passed the exam." "I passed." Miguel's voice cracked. "You used me. My father. You killed my father." Fidel's face hardened. "I didn't kill your father, Miguel. The necessities of that time did. He was a victim of the revolution. You too, I too. All of us. That's not an excuse. It's not. But it's the truth." Fidel took a deep drag on his cigar. "Tonight I offered you a choice, Miguel. You could have betrayed me. But you didn't. Because you're not loyal. You're understanding. You understand the price of the revolution. What you're seeing now is nothing." Miguel shook his head. "No. I'm no longer loyal." "Hey." Fidel raised his hand. "Your family is safe, Miguel. They were always safe. The man at the Soviet embassy, my most trusted intelligence agent, Alejandro. Nobody kidnapped them. We just put them under protection." "Why?" Miguel's tears flowed. "Why did you do this?" "Because tomorrow, the Soviets will withdraw the missiles from Cuba. We reached an agreement with Kennedy. The crisis will end. But there are still traitors among us, Miguel. Real traitors. And I needed to know if the man I trust most was truly loyal." Fidel touched Miguel's shoulder. "You didn't betray me. Even for your family's safety, you didn't sell me out. This shows your character." Miguel collapsed. All the fear, the anger, the sense of betrayal he lived through all night. It was all a test. But his pain was real. His father's death was real. "I cannot forgive you for my father," Miguel said with pain in his voice. "You don't have to forgive," said Fidel. "But you must understand. The revolution is greater than our personal pain. You and I, as soldiers of this cause, sometimes have to sacrifice our loved ones. When they thought everything had ended." Miguel lifted his head. His tears were drying now, but there was something new in his eyes, a cold determination. "I understand, Comandante," said Miguel. "The price of the revolution is greater than everything, and I too am ready to pay that price." Fidel smiled. "That's my Miguel. Tomorrow will be a great day. The world will change. And you will be by my side." "Yes, Comandante. I will always be by your side." Fidel entered. As he closed the door, he looked at Miguel one last time. "You can see your family tomorrow. They are in the safe house in Vedado." The door closed. Miguel was left alone in the corridor. But now it was different. He put his hand in his pocket and pulled out the telephone. On the screen was still that number, 555-7839. He thought for a second. Then he dialed the number. The telephone rang. Once, twice. On the third ring, someone answered. Yes. The voice was familiar. Alejandro, Fidel's man. Miguel breathed deeply. The Commandante's plan for tomorrow. An agreement with the Soviets will be signed. The missiles will be withdrawn. But Fidel is keeping a secret missile depot hidden in Pinar del Rio. The coordinates. The voice on the telephone was surprised. Miguel, what are you doing? This is my decision. Fidel killed my father. He used me. And now he has brought the world to the brink of war. My loyalty is over. Alejandro panicked. Miguel, wait. You're misinterpreting everything. Miguel hung up the telephone. But the real shock was this. The number Miguel called was not Alejandro's. 555-7839. This number was directly to the CIA's secret line in Havana. And Fidel never kept a secret missile depot. Miguel had made up this information. But the CIA, based on this false information, would launch an operation tomorrow morning. They would attack the wrong location. And Fidel could use this as an excuse to ask the Soviets for new support. Miguel had betrayed Fidel. But in reality, he was executing Fidel's greatest game. Because all this night, all this test, it was to prepare Miguel to make this deal. Fidel had trained Miguel for 15 years. Not just as a bodyguard, but as the perfect double agent. And Miguel only now understood. True betrayal was loyalty itself. Fidel Castro was sitting alone in his bedroom. He had a radio in his hand. On an encrypted frequency, he listened to CIA conversations. Target confirmed. Pinar del Rio. Operation will begin tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Fidel smiled. He took one last drag on his cigar. And you, Miguel? He asked to the empty room. Do you really think you betrayed me? Outside the door, Miguel was still standing. He no longer cried. He just thought. For 15 years, he had protected Fidel. But tonight, he had destroyed him. Or so he thought. The truth was, they had used each other. They had both betrayed. And they had both won. Because tomorrow, when the CIA attacked the wrong location, the world would see Cuba as justified. The Soviets would not back down. And Fidel Castro would be both hero and victim. Miguel was just a pawn. But this time, the pawn had become a queen. And the game was just beginning. At dawn, Havana was silent. Waves crashed on the shore at the Malecon. From the window of the Palace of the Revolution, Fidel Castro observed the city. Miguel approached. Comandante, are you ready? Fidel turned. There was weariness in his eyes, but also victory. I am ready, Miguel. Are you? Miguel bowed his head. I'm always ready. Good. Because today, the world will test us. And we will win. Together. Fidel smiled. That familiar and enigmatic smile. Of course, Miguel. Always together. Forever. Both looked at Havana from the window. The city was waking up. People went to work. Children ran to school. Life went on. But both knew. This was only the beginning. The real war was beginning now. And in this war, the greatest weapon was not betrayal. The greatest weapon was loyalty itself. No one in Havana knew it, but that day history changed. A bodyguard committed the greatest betrayal. But the real question was, who did he betray? Fidel, himself, or the entire world? No one knows the answer until today. Because some secrets are kept until the grave. And some loyalties are the greatest betrayals.